Ready? Play.
And if you're wondering what this little thing is, well, let me tell you now, whether it be tea, coffee, or merely water, it tastes so much better from a talking tennis mug. And you know what? They can be yours if you wish to purchase one from our website. We've also got bags and stickers and hoodies and notebooks. Mira Andreeva. T-shirts as well, of course, coming in both black and white. And we've got a classic jumper for you as well, and many, many other things for you to purchase for excellent prices so you can look like some of the coolest people on the tour. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis. Hi, Alex. Thanks for joining Talking Tennis today. Thank you. First thing is, just tell us about your win that you had yesterday in the singles.
Well, it was a tough win, definitely. A lot of challenges with the weather, changing conditions. So I think it was a great way to start off the clay season.
Cool. Talking of clay, where are we at with your game and your preference? Clay, grass, hard? What's your sort of preferred condition?
I prefer hard court. It's the one I grew up in, and I think my game naturally is more suited to that. But I've been, of course, I've been playing on clay for a long time as well. It's true that the clay season is shorter, much shorter than the hard season, but you know, I love clay, and I'm just, you know, trying to get it to love me back.
Good. Just going to move the camera slightly. Great. Okay.
You prefer me to look at you? No?
A little of both. You can occasionally look there, but it doesn't matter. Now we've moved the camera, we're good.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, you're going to be playing Udvari next. Do you know much about her? And tell us what you're thinking ahead of that match.
I've seen her around quite often. I've never played her before, but I think that's adds to, you know, the excitement of the match. But, you know, trying to go in with the same mindset as the match before, trying to stick with my shots and trust my tennis.
Doubles with Katie today. Of course, you lost, but you beat her in Miami. Did you talk about that match at all?
No, we haven't. She did congratulate me on, you know, that whole week, and
Play.
Hi, Alex. Thanks for joining Talking
Thank you for
Tennis
having me.
today. Thank you. First thing is, just tell us about your win that you had yesterday in the singles.
Well, it was a tough win, definitely. A lot of challenges with the weather, changing conditions. So I think it was a great way to start off the clay season.
Cool. Talking of clay, where are we at with your game and your preference? Clay, grass, hard? What's your sort of preferred condition?
I prefer hard court. It's the one I grew up in, and I think my game naturally is more suited to that. But I've been, of course, I've been playing on clay for a long time as well. It's true that the clay season is shorter, much shorter than the hard season, but you know, I love clay, and I'm just, you know, trying to get it to love me back.
Good. You're going to be playing Udvari next. Do you know much about her? And tell us what you're thinking ahead of that match.
I've seen her around quite often. I've never played her before, but I think that's adds to, you know, the excitement of the match. but trying to go in with the same mindset as the match before, trying to stick with my shots and trust my tennis.
Doubles with Katie today. Of course, you lost, but you beat her in Miami. Did you talk about that match at all?
No, we haven't. She did congratulate me on that whole week, and she's a great sportsman. I think she's super nice, and we get along well. So I really enjoyed that doubles, even though we couldn't end up taking the win. But it's fun with her. Yeah.
Yeah. How has life changed since that Miami run for you, or has it not changed at all?
A lot has changed technically, but I don't really feel. At the same time, not much has changed. It's hard to explain. I've had the same work ethic since I was young, so nothing in terms of how I go about my day has really changed. Of course, there's a big difference between last month and this month in terms of my results, my ranking, but when you focus on the things that I need to focus on, there's nothing much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you feel any more pressure?
I think it's normal to feel some pressure after a big run like this. But tennis is a game that has a lot of pressure in whichever moment that you're in your life, and I think that I've done the best I could with my mentality and talking with my team about how I can handle it, and hopefully that shows on court.
The win over Iga, is that the best moment of your career so far, would you say?
Of course. I think all the wins that week, and even the match against Jessica, was each such important moments in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. What about this? World number one or Grand Slam, if you could choose one?
Grand Slam.
Okay.
Hands down.
Which one?
Wimbledon.
Okay. Nice.
But both. I mean, if I could, I would choose both. Yeah.
Well,
Grand
of
Slam.
course, yeah. Okay, have you heard about these comparisons maybe with Leylah Fernandez? I mean, obviously in terms of your game, you're both lefties, you both sometimes take the ball early. Are you familiar with these comparisons, and how do you feel about that?
No, I'm not really familiar with those comparisons, but I think Leylah's a great player. Obviously, she did the final in US Open a couple of years back, so she's a trailblazer in her own way. I think I'm not so close with her. We've had a couple of interactions, but she seems like a nice girl, so not mad about that comparison at all. She's a good player. Yeah.
Have you got a favorite shot? If I'm going to give you a shot, and this is match point to win Wimbledon, what is it?
That's a good question. They asked me which one I prefer the other day, forehand and backhand. I was also kind of on the edge. I would say maybe a backhand cross court.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cross court winner.
But yeah, I don't know. It really depends. There's so many things that can happen during the match. Depends on the opponent, the court. But yeah, I think that one has been there from the beginning. Like now, I definitely have a lot of weapons aside from that I've been working on. But I feel like that backhand just came natural from the beginning. Yeah.
And have you ever dreamt, and then you fall to the grass, for example, at Wimbledon? Have you ever dreamt about that?
I think everybody's dreamt of that. Yeah, I have. So, yes.
All right, I'm going to show you some pictures now, and I want you to tell me the first thing that kind of comes into your mind, or just some of your thoughts. So.
Yeah, this was, I believe, in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. I won like the Little Mo Grand Slam. It was, you had to get that trophy. The trophy, as you can see, is bigger than I am.
Yeah.
It was like the tallest trophy ever presented in junior tennis or something like that. That was a big thing, and we had to take it apart and ship it back home in a box. Yeah, so I bet that was difficult for my parents. But there's my brother as well. He competed also, and he was like 2 points away from winning that same trophy.
Oh.
Yeah, but such a happy memory in my young childhood. Yeah.
Do you ever think about some of these moments when you're on the court? Do you ever think about your childhood? Do you ever think about something like this?
No, on the court, no, I don't think about it. Definitely comes to mind when I start reminiscing on my whole journey, on what I've achieved in the past month. But on the court, it doesn't pop
Cool.
into my head. Yeah.
Okay, Amazon Prime documentary. That's what this, because this is when I first became aware of you. What are your thoughts now, a few years later, on that?
I don't know. I think a lot of people got to know me through this documentary. So obviously a big privilege to be part of that. A lot of people will come, oh, are you the girl from Amazon Prime? Yes, that's me. So now hopefully I'll be known for more things than that.
For sure.
But this is it's so nice to have these memories and these moments captured on camera.
Yeah, cool. US Open junior title. I was there when you won
You
that.
were there?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah, just as a fan, but yeah, I was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was such a precious moment. I feel it was so full of emotion, and yeah, I started crying, and I feel like, of course, Junior Grand Slam doesn't guarantee anything for the future, but it's a huge achievement, you know, and it's still a decoration, you know. I think just the word Grand Slam and to win it in those courts, I feel. Representing my country, it was a big deal. Yeah.
Cool. Actually, representing your country is something I want to speak to you about, because this image here is sort of also about being from the Philippines and being a professional tennis player. What does it mean?
Yeah. I feel like the biggest advantage of representing my country is the community, you know, and the pride that I'm able to bring when I do well to my people, and they come out, they support, they really make the effort. So I'm so appreciative. Yeah.
Cool. Next one is graduation from the Rafa Nadal Academy. Obviously, Iga and Rafa were there present. What did that mean to you when that happened?
I was super excited because every year I would see who was the celebrity guest or who was the guest speaker at each graduation. And I remember there was Roger, I think Paul Gasol was there one year, and I was so excited when it was Iga, because she had just come off a slam win or something.
Yeah, I think the
Roland
French Open
Garros,
was the week before, because Rafa just lost to Novak, I remember.
Yeah, I remember, and no, it was super happy, and I think Iga told me that I remember that she said she'll see me around on tour, and I was like so excited, you know, and it happened. Yeah, it definitely happened.
She did see you around. This is after the win against Iga.
I know. I've watched that video so many times, and it's just so heartwarming. I really tried to just stay in the moment and remember everything, how it felt to be there. But funny story, like I can't really remember anymore. Like I can't really remember what I saw or that moment right after the ball went out. So, but
Do you remember how you were feeling or thinking on match point, or is it almost like you're watching just the video and you don't remember it?
no, yeah, I do. I remember. Yeah, I think I felt
It was on the turn, right?
Yeah, normally when match point comes against these big players, you know, you're trying to get yourself to stop thinking about what would happen if you win, because, you know, but those thoughts didn't come to me at all during the match. I feel I was in a state of such focus that, you know, and I couldn't really believe it when I won. Yeah.
Cool. Then this went viral, this moment that you had afterwards, where obviously you'd lost to Jessica, but you know, I was watching this on TV and I thought, wow, this is amazing. I mean, obviously, hopefully you can have more of this, but again, what do you remember about this few minutes after you'd lost to Jessica?
This was such a sweet moment for me. Let me tell you, I'm definitely not normally like this when I lose.
No.
But this was definitely a special circumstance. I remember the last couple of match points, I was able to save a match point, you know.
Yeah.
And I just tried to prolong the match as long as I could, because I knew that this is where I wanted to be. And then after I sat down, after the handshake, I looked up and just so many flags of the Philippines.
name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paulini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome in. Today we are here for a match taking place in Guadalajara. It's Alexandra Eala taking on Arianne Hartono. As I mentioned, on the hard courts in Guadalajara. Eala got off to a hot start, got the early break, but did give it back, and now she has another opening here in the third game. Hartono serving at 15:30. Good return. Good to see the backhand doing damage. It's going to give herself 2 more break points. Good morning, Jake. Although it is not my morning. And I assume it's around 11 p.m. for you. Maybe 10 p.m. But yeah, we will turn to the comment section to learn a little bit more about Arianne Hartono. And Eala goes big on the return, hits an inside-out winner forehand, and gets the break back at the sit-down 2-1. If you're just tuning in, please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe. And let's look a little bit into this draw to see what Alex Eala could get herself into if she does progress. I'll take a look at the names, see if I know anyone. It's definitely interesting around these times for tennis, especially the second week of a Grand Slam. Eala was just in New York, and now she's made her way down to Guadalajara, down in Mexico. It was just 6 days ago where Eala lost to Cristina Busca, who eventually fell to the world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka by a score of 6-1, 6-4. But we are back to action. Eala Uncertain, Love 15. Have I seen Eala play? Brenner is on it. I have seen Eala play once or twice. First time watching her in Guadalajara, which I have to assume is a very, very hot day. Not seeing anyone in the stands. No one really wants to be in the sun, I have to assume. But it is Tuesday, work day. And typically they play their matches a little bit later in Mexico because of the heat. Now in person. I know what you're talking about. In person, I have seen her hit maybe from afar. I saw her hitting early U.S. Open, so just 2 weeks ago. But I was captivated by another player and situation, I believe. But here we are, just 3 games in. Eala having to face 3 break points. A couple beautiful forehands here from Hartono. Let's see if we can learn a little bit more about her game as it does progress. S&P, welcome to the chat. It looked like Eala did a good job to fight off that return, but it does sail a bit long. So, oh no, it's a let. It is a let. Yeah, do look forward to watching Eala in person. Just kind of seeing like that footwork, really quick feet, short steps, particularly on the backhand side, but kind of with that open stance, she's able to redirect these balls in all sorts of directions, kind of no matter where she is on the court, which I think is definitely an asset to her game and her ability. Saves 1, so 1540. And it looks like she saves another as that Hartono backhand sails long, so 30-40 now. Eala tries the slice, slider, and does it from fairly tight angle now that I'm realizing. Very close to the tee on service position. You know, you think about some of those lefties like Umber, even Manarino, trying to stand closer to the doubles alley, create a little bit more angle on the slider. But a good second serve, and the return is long. So back to deuce from Love 40. Eala does a good job fighting off that return, but Hartono backhand is hit for a clean winner, pretty much inside out. So yeah, you can even see it at this level. 125K is like players just really able to hone in on the Eala serve, and from what I can tell right now, Hartono, very heavy strokes, kind of elongated backswing, almost Krejcikova-esque. These balls are getting through the court very well. Here she's on the tack, inside out forehand. Y'all, good defense, and that one does go long. So make that 4 break points saved in this game. Back to deuce. Good slider up the middle from Eala. +1 goes forehand cross court. Drags Hartono wide, and the backhand sails long. So 4 has to face 4 break points, 2 deuces, and now is seeing her first game point here to consolidate the break. That time handcuffed at the baseline again, which has been at least 3 or 4 times now. And gets the return back, but it's the return after, which does sail long. And that's once again, like Eala showing off the athleticism because it's such a hard ball to deal with. You know, Hartono really going big off these returns, just going big centrally. And Eala practically on her knees trying to fend off that return. Almost Iga-esque, Coco-esque. A little bit earlier in their days. I feel like we see less of it now. But when these players are staying close to the baseline, trying to deflect the power, you know, they really use your whole body. Big serve on second serve for Eala. And Hartono return goes long. So it brings up another game point for Alex Eala. Eala does get the hold, so she consolidates the break and makes it 3-1. Yeah, just thinking about conditions a bit. Typically, slower conditions in Mexico, but it does seem like this Hartono forehand is causing some trouble, and there it is, big serve. So maybe it is a bit quicker, but been watching Cincinnati and U.S. Open the last 4 weeks, so my mind is not quite equipped to this type of hard court yet. Good return though from Eala there. Eala steps in on that return, rips across court, creates another good angle. Oh, beautiful point from Eala. That time takes the return early, goes cross court, gets a fairly neutral ball, gets a little bit more angle on the backhand, and then hits a beautiful backhand down the line for a winner. So it's 15-30. And it's a double fault. So it brings up 2 break points for Eala. There, y'all using the slice for the first time that I've been watching, but it sails long. Talking about Eala and her game. Obviously, some shortcomings. Think about the serve. That is definitely the one that sticks out. But that time a good serve from Hartono. Went with the flat wide one. I think kind of caught Eala off guard for him returning to the net. So saves 2 break points. Back to deuce. Another free point for Hartono. But yeah, I do want to talk a little bit about Eala, maybe some shortcomings. Let's see. Let's see what happens here after Hartono's serve at game point. And it's essentially 4 free points from 1540. Maybe let's start there. Some decision making situationally. It doesn't look like she has any sort of chip return in her locker. I mean, once again, this is my first time watching Arianne Hartono, but I kind of already compared her to like flat, elongated strokes, almost like Krejcikova. Maybe that's a little bit recency bias in terms of watching U.S. Open, and she did a great job overcoming 8 match points against Townsend. Here we are now. We're talking U.S. Open, but did eventually lose in the quarters this morning lost to Jessica Pegula, who hasn't dropped a set at the U.S. Open. Got to the final last year, lost to Sabalenka, so we will see. But yeah, I'd start there. I guess like maybe some decision making. I guess maybe a lack of a shot in that sense. She did try one backhand slice in this game. It did fly long. But overall, I guess, I'd say maybe obviously movement. I think that was maybe something that we discussed kind of in the clay season, right? She sparked in Miami and immediately became clay season, so that was kind of on her mind. How would she deal with the movement? But once again, I think we all decided that, hard courts and grass are going to be Eala's best surfaces because she is just so aggressive out of the gate. Once again, like very flat backhand. But, sometimes can be erratic in that sense. You have to understand like how our player is approaching their game and willing to play some risk reward tennis. And I think she does that. I think one of her biggest areas of success in a sense is her ability to stay, mentally locked in. That was on full display against Claudia Towson, first round of U.S. Open. But, we've talked about it, and she's played a lot of big high-level players this year, where she did go up a set and then kind of faded throughout. And I think that's a little bit more of just maybe one way, lacking variety in a sense, where players are quite kind of familiar with what she's about by the middle of that second set. So I think also just like variety as a whole important. Here she goes, doing a good job in this game, getting out to a 40-love lead. I think that's a good point, Jake. Her biggest weakness is that she doesn't have an overwhelming strength. Yep, she has nice. Yep, reliability definitely not there, especially when I guess the serve on the WTA, we wouldn't put it as the biggest weapon because it's just not reliable enough. Obviously, kind of when you think about that top 8, top 10, then it becomes more of a conversation. But her qualities are going to get her a lot of victories. I just think on this tour, kind of Emma Navarro in a sense, just finding ways to win, gritting it out, and just being a little bit more consistent than their opponent. And she does win that nice exchange, which gives her the game and gives her the 4-2 lead in the first set. But yeah, once again, I just think she'll win a lot of matches because of those fighting qualities and kind of overcoming that mental hurdle at times. Thank you, producer. Right, Jake, but then I'll propose to you, do you think her serve is going to stay that way? Of course, I feel like the serve has just been a big talking point, as it typically is. But, when you get to these levels, you're not thinking, I guess, too much about, technical changes. But just, for example, obviously, Iga working on it. Now it's going to be Coco Gauff's biggest project over the next 2 months, 3 months. Talk about players on the men's side, Lorenzo Musetti, who's done a lot of tweaking going into Cincinnati. And now he's gone deep at the U.S. Open. As Eala sits on that love 15 return and bashes it for a winner. So 15 all. Jake's favorite player, Raducanu. Not quite. Yeah, I just, once again, like, even watching the last two matches for y'all, like, it's always, how tight am I going to stay inside the baseline on this return? So just every second serve, just ball bashing, not really, going back deeper, trying to play with, maybe some shape and play some defense, work her way into the rally. No, she's very first punch. Double fault. There, she did a good job. She played with a little bit more shape on the back end. I don't know how long it's been, but everything's been very flat in cross court. That time there's a little bit of a change up at the feet, produces the error, and now earned herself a chance to go up a double break. 2-4, 30-40. Good first serve. Eala finds a way to keep it in the court. That time tries to redirect the forehand up the line. Just a lot of power coming from Hartono's side. So back to deuce. And Eala earns herself another break point. Big serve down the tee, just wide, just long. Looked fairly good, to be honest. There are liners in this match as return is good, and it then sails long for Hartono. So Eala does get the double break and will serve for the set when we return in 90 seconds.
Thanks for tuning into this watch along. While there's a break in play, here's a reminder to hit the like button, subscribe, and click that notification bell. Your support helps to keep the channel going. While we're here, you can now become a member to enjoy perks including badges for the live chat, but also bonus material such as interviews with top players from both ATP and WTA tours. The membership link is pinned in the live chat. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. So whether it be serves or volleys, forehands or backhands, serve bots or drop shots, we've got you covered, whether that be via our website, talking-tennis.com, where you can read features and interviews from our top writers. Or if you prefer us in audio form, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Amazon or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from. Remember, we offer you wall-to-wall coverage via our regular watch-alongs, magazine shows such as Nick's WTA Weekly or Damien and Mario's ATP version. Plus, we deliver top content from people on the ground, actually at the tournaments, so you get even nearer to the action. So, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all things tennis.
Alrighty. And we are back. Eala is looking to serve it out. First ball is long. 15 love Eala. Jake. No harm in that, but how come? that'll be it's actually a good name. Hero Talks Tennis. That's your future. I never got a chance to look at this draw, so I'm going to do that very shortly. See what potential duels we'll be getting. Yellow forehand on the +1, sails long. Back to 15 all. Okay, so Eala, yeah. It's the 2 seed here. The 1 seed already going down. That was Kamila Rakimova. Got Olivia Gadecki in this draw. Well, she lost to Martina Trevisan. Got Fran Jones in this draw. Udvari. That time again, +1 goes into the net, so Eala is facing 2 break points as she attempts to serve it out. You're kidding me. Producer is just reporting. Oh my god. Vondrousova has just withdrew. You're kidding me. Eala does save a break point. Wow. But Eala does save another break point. Wow. I genuinely think Vondrousova was going to beat Sabalenka tonight. But now we will never know, nor will we see it. That is so... Or that's just sad. But it's not set point for Alex Eala. And she gets it done. So, despite going down 15-40 as she's serving for the set, Eala fights back and gets it done 6-2. So, we got the stats here from set 1. 4 double faults for Eala. 160% of her first serve. Only 50% did go in. Eala got 10 more points than Hartono, and breakpoint conversions were 3 of 7 and 1 for 7. Oh, yeah. Wow. I thought Vondi would win, to be honest. Producer asked me. I watched that Rybakina Vondi match, and was kind of in awe. I thought it was probably the best level I've seen in a while on the women's side. Obviously, Ika plays some really good tennis, but when you have both players kind of peaking in a sense, is kind of how I felt the match was the whole time. Rybakina didn't serve great at times, but regardless, just so clean off the ground, did well to get into points. But Vondi had every answer. It felt like counterpunching, dictating, no matter what. And she wasn't playing with a lot of margin, which kind of made it look a little bit better, going big and found a lot of, tight angles. So, yeah, I just thought she would cause a fit, to be honest, for Sabalenka tonight. Honestly, surprised now. I need to go find what the real reason was. But we are underway in the second set. Yeah, you just can't make it up. I'm honestly you can't make this up. But if you are a Sabalenka fan, I kind of think it would be cool to see her like go to every final and not do it, but also finish world number 1. Maybe that's a little pity of me, but I'm also more of an Iga fan, so maybe that's a little bit of me talking. But yeah, I mean, Sabalenka has been fine. Of course, she gets through these little hurdles that she maybe creates for herself. But yeah, I think a bit lucky. But regardless, I didn't see Rybakina going out as like, oh, a relief for Sabalenka. I almost thought it was comparable in terms of a matchup. You're also getting that lefty matchup as well. I just thought she played phenomenally. So. All right, everyone. Unfortunately, I have to go, but thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I am back. Yep, apologies there. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but I can be here for a few more minutes and entertain us. I'm still in shock about the Vondrasova news. Sabalenka is now slotted in to the semifinal. Eala did get that break in the first game, though, so she is off and running again. in the second set. Beautiful. So I'm curious, are they gonna move the Djokovic match up to like 7:30 now? It's a little bit tough, but at the same time, it's still the same ticket, I have to assume. Good start for Eala. Did I ever play in goal? I did play in goal back in my youth days. Back in my youth days, I've always had pretty good hands, so I actually enjoyed it. But the problem with playing back there is I was craving action, which is probably not positive for my team. But anyway, yeah, I did play a little bit, but yeah, I didn't have too many long stints, for better or for worse. As that return does go long. Jake, I can see you being an absolute beast back there. Win everything in the air, clear them out. I can assume. You can see that a little bit more in this game, like Hartono like hitting very, very big. So y'all playing more of the counter punching style. Wow, what's crazy is that I don't know, I guess everyone sees different updates, but she was due for a 5 p.m. warm up and did not show up on Ash. And so then they were like, I guess that's it. I guess that's kind of what the report is. Chris Budden has reported from ESPN. Was due for a 5 p.m. warm up and didn't show up. So I guess that is the way we learn. But thanks for everyone who did tune in, and do subscribe if you have not. Everyone else, enjoy the rest of the match and look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Enjoy the match tonight.
She's now going to come up against Alex Eala, and it's going to be another one of those where, you know, every match that Ayala's probably played pretty much in this tournament, she's been a huge underdog in most or all of them. I mean, the Volley Nets one was her first round opponent and probably was a little under the radar at that point as a wildcard, but she sort of made her mark in the Ostapenko match where she would have been the underdog. It gets, you know, the tasks get bigger and meaner, and then she comes up against Madison Keys where she was a massive underdog but managed to overcome Madison. Madison spraying a lot of unforced errors in there, and then she had the walkover over Badosa before yesterday's monumental, mammoth, seismic, I think was one word I think maybe Damien used, and he's absolutely right, win over Swiatek. What were your thoughts on Eala's win there in particular?
Yeah, John, this is just, you know, It's been insane in terms of the run, but I think it's kind of the story of the
Oh,
WTA this year in terms of these kind of historic runs we're seeing. Obviously
uh-huh.
Madison Keys, definitely not a big name to maybe even compete for a Grand Slam, but she goes on a crazy run in terms of who are the players that she's defeating. Then you see Mira Andreeva, being 17 years old, taking down the top players back to back Masters titles, and now we're in our, I think, fourth Masters so far in the WTA season, and here we have another amazing story of a 19-year-old wild card in Alexandra Ayala taking down numerous Grand Slam champions in consecutive matches.
Well, well, well. I have just joined as Alex Eala seals a 6-2, 6-2 win over the Dutch woman Hartono. Good to see some people in the chat, by the way, rooting for an Alex win, says Pia. Well, you've got the Alex win. She's into the round of 16 at the Guadalajara 125 Open in Mexico. Interesting decision, of course, for Eala to take that on board, having played 2 matches in New York. She felt she had plenty of energy in the tank and decided to drop down to the 125 level. Let's have a look at the stats from this Eala Hartono clash before we look at some other bigger picture stuff. Here we go. Going to share them with you now on the screen. So obviously it was a 2 sets win for Alex. 6-2, 6-2 in just over an hour and 7 minutes. Alex did not hit an ace, by the way, in the entire encounter. She had to receive 2 aces coming her way. I'm going to share these with you as well on the screen. Random questions will be answered shortly. Do get in the comment section below, by the way, what you think about this match between Eala and Hartono, and also bigger picture stuff in terms of her tournament ahead. We'll look at her next round match, but also maybe even just the rest of the year. I expect her to hit the ground running for the Asian swing. I think she's also due to play Sao Paulo, which is a 250 tournament coming up in the wake of the US Open. And as I said, 2 aces from Hartono, but 6 double faults apiece. Eala, though, just being much more ruthless on the break point opportunities because they had a similar amount. Hartono had 9 breakpoint opportunities and Eala had 10, but a huge difference was Hartono was able to take just 2 of her opportunities compared to the 6 from Alex. Highlighted the service situation as well. Alex, by the way, first serve percentage in is 54.5%. I remember it being much higher during the grass court season. So with a service underpowered as Alex is, I think she'll be keen to get that north of 60%. But good news today was that Hartono was only able to get 40% of her first serves in. Alex, by the way, winning 66.7% of her first serves. She wasn't impregnable today, as we saw in that first set. where she was broken. But I think that's just par for the course at the moment. Second serve points, 152%, but that may well tell you more about Hartono's ability to return than some upping of speed and precision from Eala. And there's the break points faced and saved. And we'll have a look at the total points won from each player, which was 62 for Alex and 41 for Hartono in a pretty dominant affair, I would argue. Let's have a quick look at maybe the Twitter sphere. Maybe some people have been reacting on social media. Maybe even Jose Morgado is just going dominant win for the excellent Eala. Let's have a quick look. Sorry, Jose, just teasing. We've got a Bamos Alex, number 2 wild card that Alex was in this tournament. She does advance to the round of 16 in Guadalajara, beating the world number 187. Hartono, of course, she did she's not been inside the top 100, Hartono, so you would expect Alex to win this match, albeit it was very good to get it done so comfortably. Any other Twitter responses? I think that's a Filipino account, or at least a Filipino, maybe a Filipino media account, I believe. I'll share this with you on the screen right now. Let's see if we can do that for you. Thus, yes, 66% aren't bad numbers, but maybe it says more about Hartono than anything else. I will address some of your random questions shortly. I do promise you that. But just let's have a quick look to see what else have we got going on in terms of Eala reactions in the Twitter sphere. Do hit that like button, by the way. And of course, if you haven't already done so, please hit subscribe. We will, of course, be bringing you Novak Djokovic against Taylor Fritz on the channel very, very soon. And an elated Eala looking there. I'm not sure if that is from today in Mexico, but anyway. And this also is in Filipino, I believe, or one of the languages of the Philippines. I do hope there's nothing offensive being said here because I have no clue. But it does say a smashing start. At least I can decipher that because, of course, that is written in English. Let's have a quick look at the draw for the Guadalajara Open and see who else Alex could be playing. That may even be decided already. I will have a quick look at the overview of this tournament and also what potential dangers for Alex lie ahead. We can also share this with you on the screen. Here we go. Rakhmonova, by the way, the number 1 seed. One of the reasons why this match started a little bit earlier than anticipated was that Rakhmonova went out in straight sets, the number 1 seed. It was a tough first round. I think Jimenez Kazantseva, didn't she get a win or 2 in New York? I certainly remember her pushing someone early doors in New York. But anyway, let's have a look at the Eala part of the draw. We've got Fran Jones as well in the draw. Panna Udvardi. Of course, Panna Udvardi and Alex Eala played each other in Huerash earlier on this year. Udvardi winning on that occasion, albeit she did need a ton of 2 sets. But that, interesting. Inglis losing earlier to Lepchenko. That is going to be Alex's next opponent in Guadalajara. Guadalajara is somewhere I've actually been. It's about 7 hours by car north of Mexico City. And I think Guadalajara will almost certainly be hosting some matches at the Soccer World Cup next year. Let's have a quick look at Lepchenko, Alex Eala's upcoming opponent in Mexico. She is an Uzbekistani-born American player. She is of Ukrainian descent and played for Uzbekistan before relocating to the United States. So many players, of course, have taken various paths to the US. Probably most famously, of course, was the Czechoslovakian, as it was then, Martina Navratilova, ultimately representing the US. But yeah, a few more things in terms of Lukchenko. She's won a singles title on the WTA Challenger Tour and 13 singles titles and 1 doubles title on the ITF circuit. It's a really good win for her, by the way, over Inglis. But yeah, what's her career high? Oh my goodness me, she's 39 years old. So old enough to be Alex's mother. She comes in at 1 meter and 80 centimeters. That's 5'11" to you and I. She's a left-hander, so it's two lefties coming up against each other. Peter Lepchenko is her coach, and I'm guessing father. And yeah, she has made the 3rd round in Australia, by the way, but that is almost a decade ago in 2015 and 2016, and also the 4th round in Australia in 2015. Her career high, 19 in the world in 2012, and she has a current ranking of 119, so quite far down the rankings, but she has some pedigree. But at 39 years old, well, how about that? Good. Have a quick look here as well from Jake. She was a good junior. This is regarding Jimenez Kazintseva. Lefty, aggressive player, but service average, and she's a bit of a head case. That's regarding Jimenez Kazintseva. Well, that is someone who, of course, Eala might be facing much later on in the competition. I think they're in separate halves of the draw as well. But yeah, regarding Lepchenko, it's a good matchup, Jake suggests. Well, we will see. I certainly think age is going to be a good factor in Eala's favor, but Lepchenko does have pedigree in terms of the fact that she's been a top 20 player in the past, and maybe she can even get some tips on how to reach the top 20, because I think that has to be a goal for Alex. And I think we've spoken about this before in terms of the limitations of Alex's game and the potential that she has. Jake may well disagree with me in the chat, but I think top 20 is a reasonable goal for Alex at some point in the next year or two. The problem is the clay court season is going to undermine her. She's also getting some rough draws. I mean, I think Towson in the 1st round. I think Vondrousova in the 1st round. Vondrousova, by the way, some breaking news regarding her today. She's withdrawn from the US Open in that match that she was due to play with Aryna Sabalenka. Yeah. But she's not far away right now. Alex Eala's live ranking, I say not far. It's not going to happen in the next 6 months, I don't think. But her live ranking, by the way, or her current ranking, I should say, is 75. But I'm wondering if that is including the points that she will have earned at the US Open. I'm just going to check. I don't think it is. She's up to 70 in the world. That is even including her win today, by the way, which I think may well have earned her 5 or maybe even 40 WTA points. Probably 5, I would have thought. But anyway, she's through to the round of 16 in Guadalajara. And do let me know in the comments section what you think of that. Okay, Jake, we've got some questions here as well. I think she can make top 10, but only granted if she improves the obvious, but it's possibly a long-term thing. Yeah, that's possible. I think she can get it. Listen, I think right now, secure yourself nicely in the top 50 and maybe even pick up a title. And why not a 125 title this week in Guadalajara? And who knows, maybe even a 250 at some point next year. Get yourself safely inside that top 50. And who knows, maybe even a seeding for Australia, I think, as in top 32 in the world, might be a little bit ambitious. But let's say being seeded for the US Open next year, have a good North American swing, a better North American swing than she had this year when she was undermined by injury post-Canada, but also draw in Canada. But of course, if she's getting in and amongst the seeds in terms of her ranking, that will help. Anyway, a win today, much needed for Alex, so congratulations to her. Let's just make sure that our settings on this video will redirect you to our upcoming stream, which is going to be Taylor Fritz against Novak Djokovic, which will be coming up tomorrow. I'm going to redirect that now. Sorry, coming up tomorrow in less than 2 hours, because Fritz and Djokovic have been moved up slightly, the pecking order, because, of course, of that withdrawal of Marketa Vondrousova, which sees Aryna Sabalenka proceed to the semi-finals, where it's going to be a repeat of last year's final as she comes up against Jessica Pegula. Shall we do, while we're here, Jake, I'm glad you're here. Stay with me, because I'm going to do a quick preview of Pegula against Sabalenka. First of all, let's have a quick look at their head-to-head. I'm going to guess that it's 7-5 for Sabalenka. 7-2. Okay, much more favorable than I thought for Aryna. Of course, the most memorable of those wins would have been last year in that US Open final. I think it's a matchup that's pretty good for Aryna Sabalenka. I know her team, for example, when they knew that Aryna was in the final and it was Pegula against Mukova on the other side of the draw, they were very keen for Pegula to be her opponent in that final. Of course, that materialized, and it was a tough final. I think it was a really high quality final, but it was kind of Aryna more or less in charge. She might have gone down a break at some point in that second set, but ultimately prevailed and was the better player, not just that day, but throughout the tournament last year. I said earlier that I think Aryna's been a little bit lucky with the draw. We'll come back to some of the previous matches shortly, but let's have a quick look at Sabalenka's draw. And the reason why I think she's been a bit fortunate is because, first of all, the first 2 or 3 rounds were favorable. We can remove that video, by the way. The first 2 to 3 rounds were favorable, I think, for Aryna. Masarova, Paulina Kudermetova, and Leylah Fernandez. Leylah is, of course, got some of the defensive skills that we have seen Coco demonstrate, but ultimately she's just not got Coco's serve, and she's also probably not quite has got as much power, especially on the backhand, as Coco. So eventually, I think Aryna was always going to avenge that defeat that she had to Fernandez in the US Open 2021 semi-final. Where I think, in particular, though, Sabalenka got lucky is, of course, that 4th round. She plays Buxa, who beat Alex Eala, by the way. I even think Eala may have been a more difficult proposition than Buxa at the round of 16. But in particular, Clara Tauson, who went out to Alex in the first round. I think that was a real stroke of luck. And then another stroke of luck today, because I think Vondrousova would have been a really tricky opponent for Aryna, the way that Marketa has been playing this tournament. And of course, she has the mentality, and I think she has the game to trouble Aryna. That's not me suggesting that Aryna would have lost today, but I think it would have been a tough battle, possibly 3 sets. And of course, Marketa beat Rybakina in the previous round, which I think would have been a huge hurdle for Sabalenka to overcome, in particular because she's had losses to Rybakina. I remember a brutal one pre-Australian Open 2 years ago, I think it was. Also losing in India Wells final, and then also very recently losing to her in Cincinnati. So, yeah, I think she was fortunate that Vondrousova knocked that out of the way. And I also think even Pegula as a semi-final opponent isn't bad for Aryna. We'll come to my prediction shortly. I really do want to hear as well your thoughts in the live chat on this semi-final between Pegula and Sabalenka. Jake here saying, I think if Aryna executes, she wins. If she's slightly off, more possibilities, even in a favorable matchup for her. But isn't that the case maybe on a hard court for Aryna? Maybe even on a grass court for Aryna against everyone? It is kind of on her racket. I think Sabalenka and Rybakina are probably the only... Sorry, I think Swiatek, Sabalenka maybe as well as an opponent in so many ways, but I think Swiatek and Rybakina are probably the only 2 players that can take it out of her racket. I think Coco Gauff has all the skills to frustrate and thwart and stymie Sabalenka, but ultimately, if she could just keep going, then she would ultimately win those lengthy rallies. But more often than not, she's not able to, which is why, in particular, we saw it in Paris this year of how she struggled it. But I think there was a win factor there as well, but maybe even some mental issues as she was getting more and more frustrated as she was spraying shots left, right, and center. Let's have a quick look at Pegula's path to the semis. I think Pegula maybe as well has had a draw-dependent run. I think Sheriff, by the way, on a hard court is a wonderful first-round opponent for Jessica. And I know you're going to say that, well, Jessica is the 4th seed. She's going to come up against somebody unseeded in that first round. Yeah, but the aforementioned Alex Eala is not seeded, and I think she would have been difficult. Barbora Krejcikova, not seeded, although I know she played her in the quarterfinals, would have been more difficult. And so would Emma Raducanu, in particular, I think, would have been a very interesting first-round matchup, and there was quite a few dangerous floaters. So to get Maya in the first round, However, blink of a second round and to win it 1-3 is an impressive result. Blinkova can have those kind of days, and perhaps she had it that day on Arthur Ashe as well. Azarenka, close your ears, Jake. I think in Azarenka's form this year, not a bad third round. Fourth round, Anne Lee. And then Krejcikova today. Now, you could say that's an impressive win, and I guess it was. But I think Krejcikova was so flat today. I know Barbora, of course, had an epic previous round win, including saving those 8 match points, but then she also had to overcome Navarro in the previous round. I just felt Barbora was really flat today, and that contributed to the comfort with which Jessica won, although perhaps she would have won it either way, perhaps even in 3 sets if necessary. Just having a quick look anyway forward as well to this Sabalenka Pegula encounter. Let's have a look at the head-to-head. I favor Arena versus everyone except maybe Igor and Clay. Always felt that way. Yeah, that does make sense to me as well. I think against Igor and Clay, I would favor Igor, even though, of course, Arena did beat her earlier on this year, but perhaps that Igor was just a bit short of her best that day. But Pegula's the sort of player that makes you beat yourself when she's at her best. Yeah, I just think that but that first sentence at least sounds a bit like Coco in a way, but I think she's a bit more aggressive than Coco. Probably plays with a bit more margin in some ways in terms of when Coco is on the offensive. Perhaps Coco can paint lines or even miss quite badly, whereas Pegula plays with a bit of margin. So I guess that is an element of conservatism there, but she doesn't defend as well as Coco, which I think could be a very useful tactic and useful skill to have against Arena. But Pegula, I think, she does make you earn the win, I think, which is true. It's a compelling semi-final, I agree, but I do think that Arena is the favorite. I think it might well go 3 sets, and I think then it'll also come down to a mental battle, and I wonder if it's mental. Maybe then the edge just goes a bit towards Jessica, just in terms of the year that Sabalenka is having. If Pegula hadn't been in a US Open final before, then I would suggest that the pressure suddenly swings her way. But she's been in a US Open final before. The real pressure point for Jessica will be in that final, should it materialize. Let's have a look at the head-to-head as I promised. 7-2, very much in Arena's favor. That did surprise me slightly. Good to see that the WTA website has 9 singles titles for Jessica, but has put 0 for Arena Sabalenka. Well, we know that's very much not true. Let's at least in terms of look at their Grand Slam pedigree. Arena Sabalenka has been in, I think, 5 Slam finals. And let's have a look at how many semifinals Arena Sabalenka has been in. I would imagine it's double digits for her. Whereas this is just the 2nd Grand Slam semi-final for Jessica Pegula. She has been in, don't know, lots of semi-finals. So she was in the semi-finals of Wimbledon, the US Open in 21. So that's 2. She was in the US Open semi-finals of 22. And then in 23, she racked up another 4 semifinals that year. In 24, she racked up another 3. And then this year she's been, so I think it's 13 Grand Slam semifinals for Aryna Sabalenka. And she's won 5. I'm just going to check this one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My bad. 12 Grand Slam semifinals. And she's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 from 12. It's a much more favorable record than it was going into her 2023 semi-final against Magdalena in Australia. I think she'd lost all of her previous 3 semi-finals to that, 1 at Wimbledon and 2 in New York. But once she got over that hurdle, and it was probably a more favorable hurdle, then she was on her way. She's won a Grand Slam in each of the last 2 years. Of course, last year she won 2 Grand Slams, both on a hard court in Australia and in New York. Pegula, by the way, has been in 1 Grand Slam semi-final and she's won it. Jake here saying, by the way, Pegula is just super solid and tough from the ground. It is an interesting matchup, I would suggest. Every match for Sabalenka kind of feels like a showdown because she's expected to win pretty much every match. And I think she expects to win every big match. Big pressure on anyone. Yeah, I think you're right. I think when it starts to go wrong, it's really interesting. But by the way, I'm not here to say when it starts to go wrong, she can't pull it back. I've also seen her pull back matches as well. But I've seen her grab defeat from the jaws of victory a few times, probably a few more times than grabbing it in a Rafa-like way, grabbing victory from the jaws of defeat, if you follow. But yeah, I think it's a fascinating matchup. We will just have a quick look at those previous matches. By the way, the 7-2 head-to-head that we touched upon earlier. Of course, Sabalenka is number 1 in the world right now, whereas Pegula is number 4 in the world. I have said previously, by the way, that I think Pegula's form has been patchy over the last 12 months, but really this run does a lot to repair that suggestion and probably can go contrarian against my suggestion that since New York last year, she hasn't played that well. I think she's played well in spells in this tournament. She played actually well in Bad Homburg as well, winning that tournament there. And she's won other tournaments this year. I just didn't really see her delivering against the big players this year. Unlike last year, of course, when she beat Iga Swiatek in the quarterfinals, I think it was. But I also have seen her have some, disappointing losses, and none more so perhaps than her first round loss to Cocciaretto at Wimbledon, when I thought she was going to have a really good run, having won Bad Homburg. Anyway, their most recent match came in Miami earlier on this year, in the final of Miami, that Sabalenka won in straight sets. And of course, she won that US Open also in straight sets. And I've got a feeling that Pegula might have been leading that second set 5-3 at one point and may have been serving for it. Or it might have been 5-4, but I think she was serving for the second set. But once Sabalenka broke, he just felt that the momentum was back with her, even if it had gone to a tiebreak. Sabalenka also winning on straight sets in the Cincinnati final as well. And then the last Pegula win came at the WTA finals in those very blustery conditions and rainy conditions as well at times in the WTA finals in Cancun in 2023. So their last 3 matches, so it was a 4-2 head-to-head, but in the last 13 months or so, Sabalenka has pulled away to make it 7-2, and she's not dropped a set to her in the 2 years since those WTA finals. Of course, the WTA finals was on a hard court as well. The previous year in the WTA finals, Sabalenka won. By the way, interestingly, they've only had 1 3-set match. That was their first encounter in 2020 in Cincinnati. So every match since then has been straight sets, albeit that we can see some 7-5s in here, quite a few 7-5s actually. So we've had their last 3 sets, by the way, in we had 4 sets in a row here. Look, between Cincinnati and Miami, they had 4 sets in a row that were 7-5. It's a bit of a quirky scoreline, and therefore to have it 4 sets in a row is quite quirky as well. But I think we're going to have our first 3-setter between them. since their first encounter, so since 5 years. And but I'm going to go with Sabalenka to emerge the winner. Let's address a couple of these questions in the live chat just quickly. Pegula has more about her than Fritz, I think, as well as Sinner being Sinner too. Okay. What are you thinking in terms of percentages, Silky? If you're talking about Sabalenka Pegula, 60-40 for me, and therefore 60-40, you sort of go, okay, tough 2 sets, but possibly 3 as well. Here's a question, says Jake. Peggy has US Open final experience now, but do you think the fact it's a semi helps her too, or doesn't make that much difference? I think it does help her a little bit, because if she hadn't been in a semi-final, which was the case a year ago when she came up against Mukova. But no, I think she's pretty good under pressure, Jessica. I know she had that lengthy spell of just getting to quarterfinals at slams and never getting beyond that stage, but she broke through finally at the US Open last year. I think she actually has a better chance of winning this being a semi-final than it being a final, funnily enough. I think a final, having only been in one before and not won it, and in New York as well, against an opponent such as Aryna Sabalenka, who's won this title in the past, and is, by the way, trying to get to her 3rd US Open final in a row, which feels like a bit of a record. I think that probably hasn't been done since Aryna Sabalenka. In fact, of course, no one has retained, since Serena Williams, no one has retained the US Open women's title, which is obviously what Arena's trying to do, since I think Serena Williams. Let's have a quick look when that was. That will have been 2013, 2014, and Serena actually had 3 in a row at that point, between 2012 and 2014. Yeah, since then, Sabalenka, by the way, is trying to go for her 3rd final in a row, which is also something that I think hasn't been done since Serena did it between 2012 and 2014. In fact, Serena was on a run of 4 finals in a row there, because she lost to Sammy Stosur in the 2011 final. And yeah, no one's done it since. But of course, we've got another quirky stat out there, which is, of course, it's that Naomi Osaka, when she makes a quarterfinal of a slam, she wins it. Well, we'll see if that comes to fruition as well. But finally, yeah, I'm going Sabalenka in 3 sets. Good question here as well. By the way, Jake is probably going a little bit more heavily towards Aryna of 65-35 or 70-30. Curious where we put Sabalenka amongst the greats. Well, on this topic, very interesting. If you go back to, I think it's towards the end of the interview that I had with Gavin McMillan, of course, a guy that was a biomechanical coach for Aryna Sabalenka, who's now working with Coco Gauff. You know, he said in that interview we had a year ago that that's the next goal for her, to become an all-time great. I think to do so, you're right, it does become surface dependent. And the thing is, she is the player that begins every year, in my opinion, as the one who could win all 4. And she's kind of proven that again this year, despite not winning any of the 3 slams this year. But she's the one going into every slam. And she's either the favorite in many respects, depending on her form. But if her form is okay, she's the favorite in Australia right now. She's the favorite at Wimbledon, and she's the favorite in the US, even though she's never won Wimbledon. She's the one who I think even better than Iga Swiatek right now, and even better than Barbora Krejcikova or Marketa Vondrousova, the previous winners of Wimbledon. She's the one who has even more of a game for grass and the results that back it up in a way, in terms of consistency on that surface, than anyone else on the tour. And yet she's not been in a Wimbledon final. But again, this year, you know, we're looking at final, semi-final, and at least another semi-final in New York. She's just constantly there in the slams. And as I was just checking her Grand Slam record since 2021, I'm going to share it with you on the screen right now. I mean, look at this line in the sand that we can draw in 2021 and reaching those semi-finals. Now, you could even maybe even draw that line in the sand of 2022, perhaps, maybe even more importantly. 2022, that run, by the way, ended by Iga Swiatek in the semi-final, match that I was at. And Arena probably should have won that match, but maybe then there was some even more mental fragility than today in terms of the fact that she'd never made a final, and that was her third semi-final loss. She was up a break in that third set. She was arguably the better player, but Iga, with her mental strength, I think helped her get back into that and eventually get over the line. I think 6-4 in the third, but it was a really, really entertaining match. And yeah, fully worth the money. But yeah, if we look at the line of the sand being here, she has been in the quarterfinals or beyond of every Grand Slam she's played since then. There is, of course, the Wimbledon missing from 2024 when she had the shoulder injury she picked up in Berlin. But yeah, she makes the quarterfinals or beyond. And even she's made the semifinals or beyond in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 10 of her last 11 Grand Slam appearances, she's made the semifinals, which tells you again, she's the one equipped to potentially do a calendar slam. But I did think that this year was the year for her to do it in terms of, you know, Iga had that off period, didn't she, in the clay season, as it turned out. I don't think that's going to happen every year. I think Arena's age as well is something, as that we are approaching the peak years of her career now as she enters the mid to late 20s. There'll be other challenges as well elsewhere. I still think there's a Wimbledon title out there, but, you know, that semi-final loss to Anisimova, boy, oh boy. I mean, again, probably she should get over the line there, and for sure she'd give Iga a better final opponent than Amanda did, but don't tell Snarehill. Yeah, so that's where we're at. But yes, she needs probably to win, unlike Iga, who's now got the 3 surfaces done. And I think Iga probably is an all-time great as a result of that. You know, she's got the US Open hardcourt. Yes, it's nice to get the career slam. But Iga, Arena's a bit further away because she's only won hardcourt slams. And I think she's going to need at least one on another surface, but probably both surfaces. And for me, the French Open is the most difficult. And again, there was a chance this year. She goes up a break. She goes up a set to love. And she seems like she's actually then going to move away from Coco in that second set, but it just didn't happen. And Coco didn't go away and deserves all the credit for that. Calendar Slam, she's the most likely to do it. But I think if she gets the full set at some point in her career, if she doesn't get the full set, yeah, I agree. I agree. I think we probably will try and cover the Alex match tomorrow, Pia. So please do join us for that. Hit that notification bell, by the way, so make sure you get alerted to whenever we go live for her matches. Yeah, Calendar Slam, she's the most likely to. But yeah, I think you might be right, Jake. I think the French Open is a bit of a stretch, but listen, she needs to win at least one of the French or Wimbledon at some point. I also think this slam race that could have been developing this year, she wins a couple of slams. But unfortunately, of course, with Iga pulling away now, Iga's got 6, hasn't she? And Arena has 3. But will we get an Iga Swiatek Arena Sabalenka Grand Slam final finally? And who would be the favorite there? Well, that's for another day. See you soon for Djokovic against Taylor Fritz. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.